Hello, this is RICKY, the Android guy. Alright guys, so today I'm going to bring up a new segment, and that is what they should do. And for this segment, it's what they should do, Sony and Android. Now, in this segment, I'm just going to be giving my advice on what I believe the company should do to improve themselves. Now, this is, I'm obviously not charging for this advice. I can because I've already given it. But it's something that I not only feel that they should do, but I've gotten a lot of people's feedback on what they should do. And so for this one, let's go right into it. Sony and Android. Sony, to be honest with you guys, at this point, you guys have definitely fallen a bit as a company, and obviously your stocks and everything like that shows it. Now, I do love a lot about Sony. I've always been a PS3 fan over a Xbox 360 fan. I have owned many Sony products, and I believe one of the best aspects of it is gaming. Now, what Sony is trying to do right now in Android is originally their tablets and their phones were the only thing that was Sony certified. Now, the reason why this was such a problem was because the Sony tablets have not been that good at all. And in terms of the US, the Sony phones have been almost non-existent. So this is my advice. For one, the Sony certification has now been passed on to HTC, which is cool and all, but HTC has fallen off these past 2 years compared to what they once were. They made a big mistake with the 1 series in terms of not caring about battery life as much as everything else. And that was their major flaw. HTC is actually probably the worst battery life out of Android devices. It's the one thing that holds them back. But that's for their segment. So for Sony, put Sony certification on all Android devices. That is my advice. Or if you want to partner up with a company, partner up with Samsung and Asus. Those are the two biggest sellers. Asus is probably one of the biggest sellers for tablets, especially since the Nexus 7 has come out, as well as Samsung is the leader in Android right now. So why not make your Sony certification able to be accessed by more users? This is something that I do not understand from developers at all. That, well, why not just go to what's selling the most? And what's selling the most is Samsung Android. So this is the biggest thing that I would recommend for Sony. Bring Sony certification to that platform. The second thing is make sure that you add games. I had a friend that was burned by Sony because he had the Sony tablet and the Sony Xperia Play device because he was a gamer and he was looking forward to Sony certified games and everything, and he was all for Sony. And what happened was Sony did not update almost anything, as well as they didn't add games to their own certified store. Sony, you have the potential to sell very amazing things. I mean, even if you just start off with Final Fantasies, do Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 4, Final Fantasy 8, all these PSP versions and PlayStation versions, just bring them on. You'll sell millions of games on Android devices. And all that you have to do is have the audience, which you have if you bring it to Samsung, and be able to sell hit games, which Final Fantasies have proven time and time again. The older ones are still better. The new ones haven't been as good. So things like that, or games that have cult followings, just bring those games on, and that's really what you have to do. People are willing to pay $15, $20 even, for a really good Sony certified game if it means they get to play it on their new high-end tablet, or even just older games that people really like to replay again on their Android phone. So this is my advice for Sony and Android, is for Sony to, in terms of Android, bring Sony certified to everything, or if not, the two main ones that count, which is Samsung and Asus. although HTC is really good, I love their phones. I still think they're really good, but they have mainly phones. What tablet have they had? The Flyer, which was a failure. They had also another tablet. I forgot the 10-inch one, what it was called, but that was another failure. Yes, they might improve next year, but they thought that making a Nexus tablet 7-inch would hurt their reputation. Asus took advantage of it and did amazing. So I think you're partnering up with the wrong person, to be honest, at this point, and I think you should partner up with Samsung and Asus, as well as bring just you can bring literally even if you just bring 5 games, like a couple Final Fantasies, and just games that people enjoyed and were the fan favorites. I mean, you can look at your statistics on your PlayStation Network. What PS1 games have sold the most? And just bring those games over. If you do, yeah, your Sony certified games will take off, and you'll start to see a huge revenue from your cut of those games being sold. So that's my advice, and I think that revenue will definitely enhance everything that you want to do in terms of making the new PlayStation, and in terms of bringing more money into making things like the Vita better, things like that. So that's my advice. Hope someone from Sony corporate sees this eventually and acts on it. All right, guys. Well, that's been my advice on what they should do. If you like this segment, let me know. This has been RICKY, the Android Guy.